15. 15. Trev's Hockey Show. I'm the Trev. You know that. If you're tuning in, if you're watching, that's too sweet. Anyway, so for episode 15, we're going back into hockey history. More so because I promised this episode almost 2 weeks ago. But with topics like this one, given how much detail there is and given how much accuracy you want it to be, you don't rush these things. You want to get it right. Right? Right. Glad we had this talk. Today we're talking about Manon Rheaume and her brief time in the NHL, but more importantly, how some would say she broke the gender barrier in professional hockey. Before I get into the backstory, I have to give a huge thank you to one of my YouTube viewers, Chris, who came up with the title for this video. If my videos ever make it to monetization, remind me that I owe you royalties for this. But let's get to the background, shall we? Or backstory, depending on how you want to look at it. It's totally up to you, right? The year is 1992, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are one of two expansion teams, the other being the reincarnated version of the Ottawa Senators, which has nothing to do with the original version of the Ottawa Senators. And they're about to make their inaugural debut in the NHL. Now, Tampa Bay, Miami, Florida, the whole greater area, for all intents and purposes, is not what people would have called a traditional hockey market. And such was the case with their rapid expansion in the 90s. They wanted to expand in areas that weren't generally known as hockey markets. And Lightning general manager Phil Esposito, at the time, you might have heard of him. Well, your daddy might have heard him. Your dad might have watched him play. But he knew this. And he knew he needed something to draw a huge fan base, not just the occasional curiosity fan, or somebody who just wants to see what this hockey thing is all about. He wanted to draw fans, legions of fans. And he tried a few different things, one of which was drafting a kid named Brent Gretzky in the third round of the 1992 NHL entry draft. Now, name recognition will get you far, but having a skill of a Gretzky, while your name is Gretzky, would be a better thing too. And well, Brent's career was not nearly as fruitful as his brother's career. I mean, I don't think I have to explain who Wayne Gretzky is to anybody. I hope I don't, but you never know. But his career in the NHL wasn't nearly as storied, and I am getting way off topic here. So during a scouting trip in Montreal, Esposito caught a game in the QMJHL, which is the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, for those who are unfamiliar with it, where he was told about a goalie. And on first impression, Esposito didn't think said goalie was very good, but wanted to take the time to strike up a conversation with them. Both Esposito and his scout had no idea that the goalie was in fact a girl, and her name was Manon Rheaume. But when that fact was pointed out to him, in his own words, he nearly flipped. And right on the spot, Esposito asked Rheaume to attend training camp. He did point out that there would be no guarantees of making the team, but playing in the NHL or AHL, or the ECHL was always a possibility. Now, of course, with all things named change, there would be the obvious naysayers. Now, assistant general manager Tony Esposito, your daddy might have heard of him too, and that is Phil's brother, and head coach Terry Crisp were not fans of the idea. They felt the integrity of the NHL was going to be disturbed by something like this. But Phil explained to them the general idea that for this, in a virgin hockey market, needing something to get the eyes on the product and butts on the seats, it was a good publicity stunt. And he knew this. Everybody knew it was a publicity stunt. And I'm quite sure, though, that without major news coverage, the CBCs, the CBSs, the NBCs, the ABCs, even the TSNs, Without all that big time sports casting agencies there to cover all this, it would have been nothing more than just a failed attempt. But they were there. As soon as it became known that the Tampa Bay Lightning had a female in training camp, it was the rage. Everybody was talking about it. And of course, most players in the camp, and probably the league as well, were of a mixed mindset. I mean, a lot of the players, from the notes I've read, a lot of them were very supportive. You did have those that were meh, or what's going on, all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it was well received. Now, of course, the mindset of Rheaume had to be an interesting one. Going into a major press frenzy of publicity, going from playing in the QMJHL to an NHL training camp of an expansion team in desperate need of attention. No pressure, right? It was a huge deal. And it was even a certainty. It wasn't even a certainty she would see any game time. But she was all over the news, in Canada, in the US, giving interviews on Good Morning America, The Today Show, 2020, even David Letterman. Overnight, the publicity Phil Esposito wanted, he got it back tenfold. Of course, everybody in said expansion team, Tampa, thought it was great to have this much coverage. I mean, now they're getting out to the community. It's like, hey, we got a hockey team now. Come check us out. You might like it. You got to remember, too, though, expansion in the 90s was nowhere near as generous as it was with Vegas. So all the brass in Tampa knew they weren't going to win anything much, or at least much of anything, for that matter, in the first early bit. Oh, if they only knew about Tampa's misfortunes later on down the road. But they got what they wanted, exposure. And during camp, it became kind of known that she could play well. Not just play, she could play well. She was taking shots against guys who were taller than 5'6" and weighed more than 130 pounds and had shots that were well over 80 miles an hour. And she was taking them all. I mean, yeah, 5'6" goalie, you're not going to cover much of the net, but what you can cover, she covered. So, being able to back up the publicity stunt that Phil Esposito created, good things, right? So now this leads us to September 23rd, 1992, at the Expo Hall in Tampa, Florida. And it's an exhibition game between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the St. Louis Blues. At the time, division rivals. Before proper realignment took place, Tampa was in the Norris Division, which was in the Campbell Conference, which we now call the Western Conference. Now, Expo Hall was, by today's standards, small for a hockey team. But it was filled to capacity of 8,223 people, to be exact. Naturally, and to be expected, Rheaume got the start. And in the 20 minutes she played, she faced 9 shots, 4 on the power play, and let in 2 goals. One was a softie by Jeff Brown, which was one of those long shots out of the blue line, just happened to bounce off one pad, bounce off the other, and into the net. And the second shot was the second goal she let in was off of a one-timer by Brendan Shanahan. And I mean, of course, who's going to stop a Brendan Shanahan one-timer, right? After the first period, though, Wendell Young, who became one of Tampa's number 1-2 goalies, I think Pupa was the number 1 goalie at the time, went in, and within 30 seconds of getting into the net for the second period, he let in a goal. By 9 minutes into the second, Tampa's down 4-0. And this is where the chance of bringing back Manon started filling Expo Hall. Naturally, she didn't make her way back in the net. And the Lightning lost by a score of 6-4. And she didn't see any more NHL ice time until another preseason game in 1993 against the Bruins, where she again played 1 period and again, led in 2 goals. I did forget to mention too that, for obvious reasons, she did get her own dressing room. So if we're going to talk about a legacy in regards to Manon Rheaume, I would think it's pretty much self-explanatory, and like I said at the beginning, one could argue that breaking the gender barrier was just as important as breaking the color barrier, like Willie O'Ree did in the 1950s. If you want to see a video on that, let me know and I'll make one. Women's hockey exploded after Rheaume took the ice, with women's hockey making an international debut on an Olympic stage in 1998. Organized Women's Hockey League exists now. There was one league that just folded not too long ago, but there is still another one, still fully operational with a lot of NHL teams backing them. So it's never a bad thing either. Granted, they're not nearly as talked about as the NHL is, but they're still talked about, they still function, they still exist, and they're still important. Lots of girls aren't necessarily laughed at anymore when they say they want to play hockey. And I'm not sure if a sport like ringette exists anymore. If you don't know what ringette is, look it up. It's where women played hockey minus the blade, minus the puck, and actually played with a ring in place of a puck. But Wikipedia could explain that better than I can. Either way, one would say she became the inspiration for a lot of, if not all, women's hockey. And that's not a bad thing. You could say inclusion became a bigger topic then than it has now. For all you PC nerds out there. But that was the story of Manon Rheaume. That was episode 15 of Trev's Hockey Show. I want to thank you for tuning in. Your viewership always means so much to me. Always has, always will. And I do appreciate you for tuning in. Even if it's just for a minute, if it's for the entire video. Obviously I prefer you guys stuck around for the entire video, but hey, even a minute is good enough for me. But if you like this video, give me that thumbs up. And if you want to, you can hit that subscribe button. Pretty sure it's in this corner. Hit that thing and stay up to date with all the content I'm putting out. If you really want, you can find Trev's Trade Page on Facebook at Trev's Trade Page. And you can find the parent channel on Facebook at Trev's TV. You can also find Trev TV on Instagram at Rockstar Trev TV. And if you want to help my other 2 channels get to 50 subs, much like I'd like this one to get to 50 subs, here's what you're looking for. So going forward, I want to get back into the jersey retirement videos. I might actually just do one after I'm done filming this one. Trade page video coming at the end of the week. And then September is around the corner. And I have to get down on finalizing my division predictions. So those will be coming relatively soon. As for hockey history, I got a couple more ideas in mind. I actually got a couple more ideas printed out that I'm going to go over. But if you have any ideas for me, feel free to put them in the comments below. Who knows, maybe you already got an idea in mind that I have printed off that might actually be the next topic for hockey history, but I guess we'll know when we get there. But either way, in the meantime, and in between time, be on the lookout for more videos from the Trev. Later.